Boom, there you go. That was the trailer for Unico Awakening, arriving from Scholastic Books in bookstores on August 6th, 2024. I'm Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World, and joining me to talk all things Unico Awakening is the writer Samuel Sattin. How are you, sir?
Hey, how you doing? So nice to meet you, and great to be here.
It's a pleasure to meet you. I am sorry for jumbling my words. It's the sun right now, but I see you look like you're by the beach right now. So it's a
I'm by
combination
the
of sun and heat over here.
yeah. Yeah, I'm by the ocean for sure. So by the pier in San Francisco.
Nice. You're getting a little
Yeah.
bit of a breeze. I'm like in my basement, which is the coolest room in my house right now, dealing with the heat wave. So, but it's also slightly cold. That's why I'm wearing a hoodie because it gets a little cold down here. But
Yeah,
anyway, what's not
sure.
cold, but what is super hot is Unico Awakening. I'm sure you're super excited. We're nearing the finish line. It's going to arrive in stores August 6th. What's the vibes right now, Samuel?
Ah, man, it means exactly what you said. It's super exciting. I cannot believe it's finally going to be released on the 6th. It's been such a long, road kind of getting here, and now that we're finally gonna see it get into bookstores, it's just amazing and surreal. So I can't wait for the world to read it.
Props, props. And I was like reading the first ever manga from
Yeah,
Scholastic. I couldn't believe that. Like, are you serious right now? Really? Wow.
yeah,
It took
yeah.
that long.
I know. Yeah, no, that's a huge that's just a huge honor to be able to participate in that too, to be like the first, Scholastic original manga. We're just in disbelief and we're honored to be able to put it out.
Well, it's beautiful. I've had the pleasure of checking it out, reading my little art copy over here. I can't wait to get my hands on the physical copy, and I'm sure everyone will when they get it on August 6th. Y'all go make sure you do that. But let's start the journey. So, as you said, it kind of took some time to get here. It's beloved, the original from Osamu Tezuka, and I'm probably brutalizing his name as I can mess up names. But how did this gem of an idea to team up with Guru Hiru and kind of rework this for a new modern audience?
Yeah, no, it's a great story. Like basically a few years ago, I was starting to work with a couple people who were in kind of working with companies in Japan. My friend Deb Aoki, who works over at does a lot of writing for the Comic Speeds and for Publishers Weekly and does all things manga, put me in touch with some people in that work with where they were trying to, put together some pitches in Japan. And I've always been a huge fan of Tezuka. Like Osamu Tezuka just kind of, in my opinion, he's done everything with comics that can be done. Like he produced so much work and everything was just absolutely his technique and his storytelling just ran, the gamut from children's work to adult work. And so the person that I was working with at the time, his name, he runs a company called Octus. His name is Vince. He told me that I could, if I wanted to, I could go ahead and pitch Tezuka Productions in Tokyo a story idea. And so I couldn't, I was like, wow, okay, I'll give that a shot. And so I was looking and I had heard that, they were open to pretty much everything, but a lot of, there'd been a lot of pitches for Astro Boy, for Adam, and a lot of other pitches for a lot of so it's sort of like, Tezuka characters like that. And they had always been kind of curious about trying to do something new with Unico, which was this really interesting story from the 70s that in Japan they continued to merchandise and create merchandising for it, stuff like that. But there hadn't been too many new stories after the films that came out in the 80s that kind of got a cult following in the United States and worldwide. And so I was like, oh man, I love that story. And I was like, I'm gonna give them a pitch. And I spent a while putting it together and I gave it to them, kind of not expecting that they would what they would say. And then they accepted it. And it just blew my mind. So I completely was I couldn't believe it. And then so from there the next step was to find an artist team to work on it. And it's kind of a curious thing because Goody Hida mentioned this in a recent interview, but like, to be Japanese and to be a Japanese mangaka, to be a Japanese manga artist, And working on something from Osamu Tezuka is a big deal, because he's kind of like, people call him the Walt Disney of Japan, but he's kind of like a cross between like Walt Disney and Charles Schultz, and
Oh,
kind of
that's
a bunch of different,
huge.
yeah, a bunch of different, and a bunch of different. He essentially created all of modern manga and anime. That's why he's called the god of manga, right? And so like they were, so Deb, again, my friend Deb Aoki, introduced me to another fellow named Aki Yanagi, who lives in Japan and reps a kind of a roster of Japanese artists who work with the United States and in Japan. So they work kind of cross culturally. And one of those artists is Gurihiru. And I'm obsessed with Gurihiru's work. I think there's there's one of the finest artist teams working today. They, combine kind of Japanese and American comics together in a way that I've never seen anybody do before. It's like they almost like mix together like Osamu Tezuka and Walt Disney, and kind of the way they
Yeah,
do it is so seamless and gorgeous. So
that's a
like
great way to describe that. Yeah, because
yeah,
I've been a
yeah,
fan as well.
and that's what they studied. They studied. That's what they try to do for Unico too. They try to they like want to combine Disney and Tezuka to make it kind of its own. So it has the spirit of the original while kind of appealing to a new generation. And so we pitched them. I pitched them on the series, and they were like, "Sounds interesting, but no." They're like, "We're not going to do it," because they were like a little intimidated about the idea of like working with an Osamu Tezuka character. And then
Oh,
we kind of, and then the person I was working with, their representative Aki, was like, "Well, like, let me go back and let's not let this go immediately. I think it's really cool. So let's see if we can put it to them a different way." And so after asking them again and talking to them again about it, after a while, they were like, "Okay, let's do this." And then like from there, it was just it was on. So we decided to create a Kickstarter to get it out there. It seemed like the best way to get the series kind of to because the thing is about something like Unico, and tell me if I'm just going on and on about
oh no, you're great. I'm loving all this. I love
yeah,
this
yeah.
behind the scenes stuff.
Oh,
I'm
good.
creative
I'm so glad.
myself. It's the work we got to put in to make our dreams happen.
Yeah, yeah. It just
Yeah,
people think this, I completely understand. You look at something, you're like, oh, it just happened, and you're like, well, it
yeah.
takes a
It's a
long time
lot
to
of
get
work.
there, right? It's a lot of work. And so it's like, yeah. So what ended up happening was like we decided, because with a character like Unico, um, he has a cult following, he has a cult following like in the United States and abroad and in Japan, but he's not like a super well known mainstream, IP for
Yeah.
a better word. So like what we ended up doing was we were like, well, I think the best, because we were thinking about, do we go directly to a publisher and pitch it? But then we're like, well, I don't think we can show a publisher just how much enthusiasm there is for this story,
Uh-huh.
because I don't think they're going to understand where it came from. They're not going to understand what it is. If you bring it to a big publisher and you're like, look, people love this book, promise,
Yeah.
promise.
They'll
It's like,
recognize the IP, but not know
yeah,
the love behind it.
yeah, they're not going to know it. And so we're like, we have to show it. We have to show them. We have to show them just how many people really care about this. And so
Yeah.
we ended up, that's why we did the Kickstarter. And again, to my like, I mean, I thought it would do okay. I never had any idea that it would, blow up the way that it did. And so we worked really hard to get it started. We worked with some really fantastic people to get it kind of going, including like David Hyde at Superfan Promotions and people like that to get it off its feet. And it just became this big thing. It raised quite a bit of funds, um, and so we felt like that kind of was like a proof of concept, right? Like this is like something that, because my whole entire thing from the beginning was like, this is a really good story. This is a very interesting uh it's not My Little Pony, it's cute,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's kind of it's a story that has both light and darkness, and it's kind of like it's heftier and it covers some difficult truths. And I was like, this is kind of the stories that I grew up on, and I really thought that a new generation of kids might really enjoy this. So I was like, that's why we did it to begin with, because we thought like
Love that.
that people are really gonna this could be a really good story. And so And then, we put it out and we got the Kickstarter fund, well funded. And then we went to go ahead and we were just working on the book and, going along and starting to kind of put everything together. And then my agent sent out pitches because this idea like, well, we should probably figure out how to get this thing published as well, on the shelves beyond the Kickstarter backers, and so it could have a little bit of a longer shelf life. And so, we had set it up for the idea that it could be a series, but we had no idea how many, volumes we're going to get, or,
Yeah.
a couple of publishers were thinking about like just kind of doing distribution on it, and a couple others kind of, where we were kind of in kind of discussions for a little while with a few other people, and kind of thinking about what to do with it. And there were various ideas. We were kind of like trying to figure out, okay, like which one is going to be best. And then my agent submitted to Scholastic, and they had the vision that we couldn't we were so incredibly excited for. Like, there were like they had this vision. They saw what we saw,
Okay.
and that was kind of the and we just went for it. And so now it's like we get to make it into a multi-volume series. We get to kind of make it the series that we think that it really deserves to live up to what it really should be. And so yeah, we're just to say that we're, the whole team is just really honored and grateful to be able to do this, and just excited to be able to work on this project. And that's how we got there.
Dude, that's so cool, man.
Yeah.
As a creative filmmaker, and
Yeah,
I
for
used to
sure.
write and publish comics. I still dabble a little bit, but it's just, this process is just can drive you bat nuts crazy, and getting people to see the vision and
Oh God.
all of that. It's awesome. The process is fun. I gotta say, you gotta love the process in order to do it, right?
Do.
But also seeing that you can get to that finish line, and that people believe in the finish line to even move it forward for the consecutive elements of the series, if it's a series, right, is just
Yes.
beautiful. So props, dude. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
I know the work was put into that, and it takes a lot, and it takes a village, it takes a team. So shout
It
out to the
really
entire
does. It takes so many people. The people over in this case, we have a binational, team. We have people in Japan. We have people in the US. We have like, it's a real international effort. And then like, and yeah, and I've been writing for, since 2011. So I've been putting in, published my first book. So it's like, this is not the first thing I've ever worked on. And like, that's why I completely hear what you're saying about the idea of like, you know, to continue building. And these projects just don't come out of nothing. There's so much
yeah,
time and experience and work that goes into them, and then to see them go in that direction, you're just like, oh, it's just such a wonderful feeling. Yeah.
definitely, man. Congrats, man. That's so
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
So the Osamu Tezuka, and I know I'm gonna mess his up name
Yeah.
again. The original, what was the original? Because again, I'm not too familiar with it. I started to become familiar as I started doing my homework with you in regards to this upcoming series.
Sure.
What was the original series? How many was that? And what would be uh can you say like how many volumes will this new series be tied to the original? If you can give us some details in regards to that, because we're just
Sure.
starting it off with
Yeah, yeah,
Unico
yeah.
Awakening.
I'm actually gonna make sure that I'm right now. I'm gonna say it was 9 chapters.
Okay.
Unique manga. Gonna make sure that's correct as I tell you that. Um, you know, is it 9 chapters? I believe the original was 8 chapters with an afterword, so kind of 9 chapters. So it's
Okay.
like, that was the original. It was serialized in 1976 in a magazine called Lyrica. It was to kind of aim towards younger girls and like girl readers, and it was in partnership with Sanrio when it first went out. So it was the stories were kind of standalone, and it never got ended. It never was
Oh,
the series was never ended. So it was kind of like it was a story about this for those who might not know, it's about this young unicorn who his ability essentially to spread kindness and hope, and ends up drawing the ire of the gods. and in particular a goddess named Venus, who tries to have him thrown onto the hill of forgetfulness, essentially, to destroy him and have him and because she's jealous of his ability to inspire human beings. And so one of her servants, the West Wind, takes pity on him and decides to hide him through time and space in order to keep him from drawing the eyes of the gods. And she wipes his memory so that he won't remember who he was, because remember, whenever he starts to his powers awaken, the gods turn on him again. They find him, and so it's so it's kind of this he's being kind of basically chased through time and space and hid over and over again in order to survive. He helps people only to forget again who he helped. So he makes all these friends he never knew he had. And so it's the series itself never was finished. So you don't really know whether or not his cycle, this kind of curse of his, is broken, or whether or not it just continues on, ad infinitum. But in the movies that were there were also really great films that were made in the 80s. Those were also standalone. So what we decided to do for this was to base each of the stories on a story from the original manga, and to expand it and to change it and eventually to end it. We got the permission from Tezuka Productions to end the story, which is wild. So we get to
Yeah, I'm
actually.
curious how that kind of got the sign off and how proud of you were to kind of give that in a way, right?
Yeah, well, because we had this idea that we wanted, like, can we? We're like, are we allowed to? And they were like, you can. And
Awesome.
they're like, what was most important was that, for them, was that we adhered to the core themes in Tezuka's work and in Unico, and like to make sure that the characters came alive in the way that they needed to. But as far as like the story itself, they were like, yeah, we don't want you to, to completely and totally, like, as long as you're in the right zone, like, you can do kind of whatever you want. And so we were just like, wow, okay. So so now it's going to be upwards of 4 to 8 books. I can't announce officially how many yet, but right now we have 4 in the works plus a couple supplementary books, and it's being written for more than that.
Okay.
So when working with Scholastic on that directly. So yeah, so we're looking at a multi-volume series, and with a clear arc from beginning to end. So
And you're
yeah.
writing them all. So you're like you're burning the midnight oil, putting fingers to keyboard.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's why I'm wearing this glove here. Just like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, no,
But how fun, right?
it's
How
great.
fun.
It's great. It's absolutely great. And so, yeah, again, to say that I'm grateful to be working on it is an understatement. And so, yeah, we're all working hard to get these books out and to make sure, because the first one comes out in August and the next one comes out in June of next year. So they're going to follow in pretty rapid order, in order to, make sure that kids can continue to dig into them. And so yeah, that's where we are right now. So I'm just in the middle right now. I'm waiting for edits on one of them, but I'm, yeah, just getting kind of just writing Unico all the time.
I love it. How
Yeah,
has it been to you're a creative yourself, right? And then you're working on an IP, which
sure.
an IP you enjoy, which is always a pleasure when it's an IP
Mhm.
you enjoy, right?
Yeah.
But to also keep your own voice. Have you been able to find like little notes where you can kind of put your own voice into the overall character and piece while
Oh yeah.
keeping their themes that they would like, but also that as well. I'm always curious as a fellow creative, where
Yeah,
you love to work on, say, Spider-Man or whatever, but you want to do something because every Spider-Man story has been told, right, in a certain way, right?
sure.
So how about for you working on Unico with finding your voice?
Right. That's a great question. And like I've been thinking about that a lot. And the great thing about working on a Tezuka property in general, a Tezuka story, is that Tezuka himself was way more open than a lot of other people are to collaboration. He really liked telling stories, retelling stories from other places and other cultures. He liked his stories to be retold. So it's like, so he was very the company itself is really open to you having your own voice. So for example, like unlike traditional IPs, like me and Goody Hiro own half of it. So it's like, we're able to really have ourselves, in this story. And so, it's the idea of like paying homage while creating something new. And so, you know, what's been wonderful about this whole entire thing, and Gurihiro has talked about this as well, is we pretty much everything that we put together, they've just been like, yep, great, we love it. So it's just like there hasn't been any pushback. I've heard about people dealing with, like, for example, and this is not, I'm not saying this in a negative way, but I've heard about people working with Disney or working with Marvel, Disney Marvel, or Star Wars,
Yeah,
and things like that. And it can be a little stricter, a little more
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. And working with Tezuka is so interesting because they kind of allow us to have more blue skies. And so
I
we
love
haven't
that.
really, yeah, we get to kind of, I mean, while we're creating, we're retelling Tezuka's story, we're also retelling a new story. And so that's kind of, so we all feel like we are, you know, it's ours as well. And the thing is that's great about that is, again, like Tezuka himself, like he would refer to comics as an international language. He wanted people to share ideas. He would retell stories from Western, canon. Like he would retell like Crime and Punishment or something like that, and to make it his own. And like, so he would do that kind of thing, and make it his own thing. And so he was really like that. He really enjoyed the spirit of like people taking stories and kind of reinventing them. And so yeah, it's a different kind of project in certain ways. And we get to, like, create a story. We get to work with it within the spirit of Unico and keep Unico homaged and faithful, while also having a lot of fun and making the story that we want to make.
That's awesome. Well, I've enjoyed what I've checked out so far and read. I know when I share with my daughter, this will be something special because she knows I'm an old school head. So
Yeah.
Astro Boy,
Yeah.
I grew up on Tezuka to
Oh
that vein.
yeah.
I wasn't too familiar with
Uh-huh.
Unico. Just being a boy, that's girl stuff. But I'm all about it now because I have just I have a teen girl. She's
Sure.
it's all about the girl stuff. She's a girly girl. So this is right up my alley to share with her. So yeah, I'm excited. Again, everybody, Scholastic on August 6th in all bookstores. Go check it out. Speaking of Tezuka, and we're in front of San Diego Comic-Con as of this recording, and this interview will be out before then. So tell people what you got going on at San Diego Comic-Con with Tezuka. And then
Yeah.
also, is there going to be any rollouts with Unico there as well?
Well, let me see here. So, I'm gonna make sure that I have the
Get it
correct name
right.
of the panel, because there are a few. Let's see, STCC. Yes, I'm going to be on a panel at San Diego Comic-Con. It is going to be essentially, what are they calling it? They're calling it.
Discover the magic of Osamu Tezuka, new adventures for a new generation.
There we go. Great title. And that's exactly what I'm going to be speaking there with Deb Aoki and Ben Applegate, who's a really well-known and renowned translator. And Deb herself, is manga aficionado and had a lot to do with building this project up. And it's going to be so much fun. And Yeah, we can't wait to just, kind of gab on about Tezuka and like kind of his legacy and all these new stories that are coming out. I mean, Unico is one of them. There are others as well. Like Tezuka's having a new resurgence, and and the thing that we get to do, the thing that I'm really excited about with Unico is that we get to do it so one thing that I talked about, I was at ALA recently, American Library Association in San Diego. I talked to so many librarians about this, but one of the things that was so interesting to talk about was how kids and everybody, and as you know, are crazy about manga, right? I love manga too.
Totally.
Obviously, like, it's like, people, yeah, it's huge, right? It's the hugest, it's the biggest thing. And the problem is though that, you know, librarians feel uncomfortable giving 8-year-olds Demon Slayer.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
there's just
yeah,
there's not a lot of stuff that's really that developed for like the kid range for manga. Like once you get to 12, 13, 14, yeah, okay, everything opens up, right?
yeah,
But in that little that younger age where kids are really want to read it, they really get excited about it, but their parents and their librarians, but they don't really feel comfortable giving them things that are too violent or too over the top or too sexual, whatever it happens to be. And so
yeah,
what we get to do with this is create a large, like, meaty, adventurous story with a huge cast of characters. It's very much manga, and we get to do it for kids that are for kids, for
yeah,
give them something to actually have. And so that's the one thing that we're really excited about from the perspective of working with a Tezuka, with a Tezuka story. And we talk about this in Tokyo with Tezuka Productions, just the idea of making a Tezuka story that really appeals to kids. But that is also an adventure, that it also has everything that you want from manga. That is
definitely.
not like it doesn't speak down to kids, isn't too ridiculous, but just
That's so
has,
key.
yeah,
Yeah. As a
but also
parent, that's what I've always looked for because I grew up on American style comic books, like I was
yeah,
telling you
yeah,
earlier, and that's what I grew up on. And like I kind of strayed away from manga because I wasn't too sure. And plus, they didn't have it, as in the 80s, 90s, right? You had to seek it out.
yeah. Can I ask
But
how
my
old you are?
daughter now, like she's all heavy but I'm always unsure because you got to be careful what gets close to like what is it, Yari, or just the dirty stuff. And I'm like, you don't know because it looks so similar to a degree.
Well, even the stuff that's like, that's really kind of harmless, like My Hero Academia or Attack on Titan. It's very violent.
Yeah.
There is some like sexual like innuendo and stuff like that. And for again, like kids get into that. Like I got into that when I was probably around 12, 13.
Yeah.
It's like, but when you're like 7, 8,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, the librarians I talked to were like, well, we can't send kids home with that kind of stuff because their parents are going to be like, what are you giving us? What are you giving our kids?
Exactly.
They're too young for that. So this is like one of those things where it's like it's still got an edge to it, but it's not to the point where a kid can't take it home.
Definitely.
So it's that's one thing we're really excited about this whole entire thing, and one thing I hope to be talking about on the panel.
Well, I cannot wait for the rest of the world to see this. August 6th, y'all, Scholastic, their first ever manga publication. I can't wait to share it with my daughter because this is the type of material I was looking for as we've been talking about to enrich her minds and enjoy the stuff in the genre she likes. So this is just great, Samuel, and props to you because again,
Thank you.
as creatives, we know the work it goes in to this, and just to have uh
Yes.
just to be able to opportunity to work on such an IP that you're working on and be able to infuse your own ideas and everything into it. I love that. And I'm sure there's going to be some bright things to come, man. This is just looking at all of this, like this behind me. And when I was doing some of the research, oh, there's going to be new stuff because everybody's trying to grasp to some of the older stuff. You're on a star that's going to be shining even brighter, Samuel. And
Oh,
it's a
thank
honor and a
you.
pleasure to chat with you. I hope we can chat more as more of these come out and I can give you your flowers and props.
Always, man, always. No, it's so wonderful to talk to you, and thank you so much for having me on. And like, uh, yeah, this is awesome. Also, I love your hat. It's a
Oh,
good
thank
hat.
you. It's what
Yeah.
I'm all about. It's what I tell my daughter every day, as a creative. So thank you, Samuel. Everybody, Samuel Sattin, writer of Unico Awakening. The book drops in stores August 6th, 2024 from Scholastic. Please go check it out, support it. Get all the upcoming volumes. You're not going to want to miss out. And then if you want to go check out the other stuff too, like I'm going to go refresh myself and go watch the animes and pick up some of the other stuff for my daughter as well. Why not? Let's show love. And again, thank you, Samuel. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, and hope to be back.
Appreciate it, sir.
Take care.
Thank you.